What I'm saying is that we know that there's bipartisan support, right, for Ukraine funding. And that is what we're saying.
Why would the president say that he made a deal if he didn't?
I'm just saying that what we're seeing currently from Congress is that there has been, right, there has been overwhelming support. That is what the president said.
So there's no deal. Joining me right now is Indiana Senator Mike Braun. He's a member of the Senate Budget Committee. Senator, how do you read this?
I think that's murky at best. I can tell you in the Senate, there's probably more appetite for Ukraine support. I've been clear about it. I think they definitely occupy the high moral ground. My issue has been that, remember, every penny we've spent over there, we borrowed it. Nobody really realizes, Maria, we've got the budget issue, but every new dollar, it's not offset, nor is there a fee. So when you think about more government spending on anything, it's borrowed money. Get to the politics of it, the House is definitely going to be more interested in border security along with some Ukraine support. In the Senate, there'll be more interest in Ukraine support with a little less emphasis on the border. To me, the southern border is the issue that we should be paying more attention to.
Well, I mean, that's a dereliction of duty, okay? We have a wide open border. Why can't your colleagues see it clearly in the Senate? And now, you know, we've got $114 billion having gone to Ukraine. People are fed up. They want to see a policy change at the border before committing any more tax dollars to Ukraine. What about this Politico memo? Politico obtained a U.S. strategy document. It shows that the Biden administration is far more concerned with corruption in Ukraine than they publicly admit. So, Senator, they see that there's corruption in Ukraine, but we just keep throwing money at it?
I mean, that's the inherent contradictions of being in Congress. And Maria, no one generally will come out and speak truthfully about any of this stuff. And sooner or later, it reaches an issue because of the budget issues, which everyone dismisses. And that's very easy to understand. We were borrowing $1 trillion a year about 5 years ago. Now it's up to $1 trillion every 6 months. That is going to become, for many different reasons, a bigger and bigger issue. But yes, I don't know how we justify emphasizing in the U.S. Senate Ukrainian help when we let the southern border go unattended. That's all going to be in play between now and November 17th, the 45 days we got to work with. And it'll be the same old, same old. We'll back it up right until the deadline. And I'm not sure how much agreement we'll get between now and then.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of the frustration around this fight between Speaker Kevin McCarthy and Congressman Matt Gaetz from Florida, because it's amazing to many of us that 7 million people have crossed into America illegally on Joe Biden's watch. When will this end? I mean, what are we going to do? You know, by the time this administration is over, have 15 million illegals in the country? Matt Gaetz, as you know, introduced this motion to remove House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett joined me earlier in the program, and he told me how he plans to vote pretty clearly. Watch this.
I'm poised to vote to remove him from speakership. I just think we're going to have, like I said, he's my friend. It's a tough decision. I prayed about it, and I have to go either with my conscience or go with my friend, the speaker, and my conscience has served me well these last 59 years. So I think I'm going to stick with my conscience, Maria.
Senator, how does this play out, and what's your opinion of all of this?
So here's how this plays out. Kevin has a thin margin politically. He did have 90 people basically vote against him on the recent CR. So keep that in mind. Your issue is in the Senate, where Chuck Schumer is running the show, and he generally gets 10 to 15 Republicans to go along with him. So most of this, in my opinion, is an issue of a Schumer-led Senate that 10 to 15 Republicans go along with. Kevin doesn't have much room for error there. He, of any of the leaders, at least is putting the issues out there. When it comes to the Senate, we generally end up helping out the Democrats, and we've done that on spending and almost everything else.
So do you think the Democrats are going to work with Matt Gaetz then, or do you think the Democrats will save Kevin McCarthy?
I would say if you look at the recent CR, it looked like the Democrats were working with McCarthy there. When it comes to the survival of his speakership, I wouldn't say that you can necessarily use that as a reference in terms of what might happen, because that's politically loaded.
Well, I mean, what's the rumor there in terms of who would become the speaker? Does Matt Gaetz even have a plan here?
You know, I'm not sure if anyone wants to step into that, because they would inherit that thin margin that I don't think is going to change. Remember, Democrats outmaneuver us in the House and the Senate. This place is their growth business and cathedral wrapped into one. And that is why they always seem to end up landing on their feet, blaming Republicans for most everything. We got to get better at articulating the issue of the southern border, the fact that we can't borrow money from our kids and grandkids. And that all is going to come home to roost with Medicare trust fund, Social Security trust fund going broke in a few years, not to mention the crowding out effect of interest costs that get absolutely astronomical over the next few years.
Well, I mean, we know that the House already funded 70% of government with what took place in the past several months with bills. Now you've got 45 days to get the work done, and the House is planning on taking up all of these single subject spending bills. Senator, do you expect that they'll be able to do that in the next 45 days? How does that play out?
The product in the House is definitely going to be better for the sake of our country, our kids and grandkids, when it comes to government finances. Sadly, Maria, the tough decisions we'd have to make, there are only a handful of us in the U.S. Senate that would know what to do and have the political backbone to do it in the Senate. There are at least more of them in the House. So I wouldn't count on anything being done in terms of reforming the place through the Senate. The House will have to lead on it. Sadly, that'll probably be hard to get through.
So we're stuck with where we are, the continuing resolution.
I mean, well, just look at the past. The 5 years I've been here, this is just a little more drama. We end up borrowing and spending more as the end result. The American public's going to have to start saying enough is enough. You need term limits, balanced budget amendment. You need to start sending people to D.C. that are going to fix it, not make it worse.
I agree on term limits. Did that ever come to the floor, term limits?
Everyone campaigns on it, quickly has amnesia once they get there. Even if you'd grandfather the folks that wouldn't vote against it, they don't do it because it would indict them as being part of the problem. It is that convoluted and confusing.
That is wrong. Senator, good to see you. Thanks very much for walking us through it all. Senator Mike Braun, we appreciate your time this morning, sir. We'll be watching.
You're welcome.